now. And further, it is laying the grounds for modern democracy and republicanism of today's time, which we notice. Now understand, apart from this, Voltaire, over here we will notice that he has given the concept of freedom of expression. He talks about and he completely criticizes about superstition, the religious intolerance, and he has given this concept that I disapprove of what you say, right? I disapprove of what you say, but I will defend to death your right to say. And understand, from this, in today's time, we get this concept of dissent in democracy. The concept of dissent, which is in democracy today, it is acceptable, which means you have a right to criticize the government in today's time. This freedom of expression. Now understand that this freedom of expression, it is present in Article 19 of the Fundamental Rights. Right? It is present in Article 19 of Fundamental Rights in the Indian Constitution. And he wrote some satirical works such as Candide, Mocking Blind Faith, and Oppressive Rulers, right? He advocated for religious tolerance and separation of church from the state. What is this concept of separation of church from the state? This is here talking about the concept of secularism. And what is secularism? If I say secularism is a ideology of this worldliness. Here, there is no interference of religious matters. So, if I talk about the Western concept of secularism, then the state has to be completely separated from the church. And in the Eastern concept of secularism, or you can say in the Indian context of secularism, we see over here that the church and the state, they have been overlapping. Indian government makes laws over here, which is your Article 17. What is Article 17? To ban untouchability, right? It is banning untouchability by this. And Article 29 and Article 30 for promotion of linguistic minorities. I hope the concept of secularism is clear. But over there in Western Europe, why it was separation of church from the state? Because we had seen that lot of dominance of church, we had seen the overlapping or the emphasis of the decision making of church was on the state political matters. Is it clear? Now this had completely influenced the secularism, liberalism and human rights movements. And it is said that again, freedom of speech has been a pillar of modern democracy in today's time. So understand what is the overall consequence over here is that Renaissance, it has revived the spirit of humanism, spirit of art and spirit of science in the people. And where in the last class we had already discussed how we had seen that there has been a cultural change in the life of the people. First thing this. Second thing, Reformation, it had broken the religious unity and it had brought more new churches. The third thing we notice over here is that scientific revolution. It has advocated for advanced knowledge and it has challenged any kind of dogma. Is it clear? So ultimately what happens? It is enlightenment of this age which has led to spread of democracy and the rights of the people. Now understand all these three philosophers, Enlightenment philosophers, which we have discussed above. You can use these philosophers in your essay part. Okay. We had also seen that by this time, the concept of the political revolutions had shaped the modern nation states, right? This I will be discussing in the topic of unification of Germany and unification of Italy, apart from French Revolution. And together, all these movements had created the foundation of modern Europe. And we are entering from medieval era to a era of modern Europe, where there is presence of secular society, democratic ideals, scientific approach, and progressive ideals towards life. Is it clear? Now, but during this time, one major significant event also took place, and that was 7 years of war. And this was basically between Britain and France. Both the nations had been fighting these war, and it is said that although it is said as 7 years of war, but this was actually fought for 9 years. Okay, what happened? The primary conflict between Britain and France, it was to become first global, okay, it was to become, you can say, a superior nation, right? They wanted more and more resources, we see over here, and it became the first global war, which because battles were fought simultaneously in the colonies for Northern America. I will be discussing what happens when 13 colonies will be settled up in America. The wars will again be fought for the places over there. Caribbeans, West Africa, like in West Africa, Senegal was a part of France. It was a colony of France. And others will see Congo, it is a colony of Britain, right? We will see in India. India, you are also going to notice this Anglo-French rivalry. And then we are going to notice various wars over here. And it is also called as global war or the first war in the historical terms. The percolation of this war, okay, this 7 years war, you will also notice its impact in India, because ultimately, definitely, it's going to be Britain who is going to win in the war over here, right? Because what happens, the resources which Britain gets, right, in Battle of Plassey to Battle of Partition. In the Battle of Plassey, we will notice that ultimately multiple dastaks and multiple trading rights will be gained by Britain in India, and by coming of Battle of Buxar, okay. What we are going to notice, that Britain is going to gain in Treaty of Allahabad the Nizamati and the Diwani rights. Is it clear? So what is going to happen, that ultimately it will be Britain which will be victorious in these 7 years of war. Basically, it will be the scramble for resources across the world, right?